We're going to go try to do this.
All right.
So supposedly we are live right now. I'm trying to get caught up to the comments. I think some people are probably throwing shade at me. But this is not an internet issue. We did not have any connection issues. It's literally a Skype issue. I'm blaming it on Microsoft. So Skype,
of course.
Screw you. Everybody, welcome to KBN Live. Thanks for bearing with us and getting on here a little bit late. But as Ryan and I said earlier, but when we were talking offline, when we're late, we're on time. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we're pretty much right on time.
Yeah, right on time. 21 minutes, right on time. We've got a great guest with us tonight, Jake Harshman. Everybody followed this event over the weekend. The first Hobie BOS event kicked off. It was a huge turnout. Looked like the bite was tough, but big fish were caught. Ryan was down there. He was in contention for a little bit. We were pulling for him. I don't want to bring that up and pour salt, but and Jake made a big comeback on day one to get right there in contention and boom, finished it off on Sunday with a big fish late. And we'll get into that story here in just a little bit. But Jake, I know you're tired and wore out because the week before we were just down in Florida, deep South Florida, and then you went up there and made it happen on Seminole. So thank you for taking the time to join us, man.
Don't, Ryan. I saw the wheels turning. Don't.
All right.
So, man,
what were y'all doing in deep South Florida?
We were
visiting family.
Iguana hunting.
Oh, okay. Just a couple old town guys visiting some family, huh?
Yeah, I figure me and Jake spending some time in that house together probably was key to victory, don't you think, Jake?
No, I don't. I don't think so at all. I think I got bruised.
Yeah, we don't have to get into the beating I gave you for snoring. Everybody I room with in these tournaments snores. David Cruz, now you, everybody. But
Jeff,
Steve Owens
Jeff,
doesn't
you fart in
snore.
your sleep.
what?
you farted in your sleep, and you're gonna talk about my
man.
Well, that's normal. Let's get back on the subject about the tournament here.
I don't
For
know.
God's sakes. This thing's circling the drain, literally. All right, so
That's cool.
So Hobie BOS, man, you made the trip and you made it happen. We were talking down in Florida about you were nervous about going up there, and you last year you were disappointed with your national tournament performance, and you wanted to make a splash, make some improvements this year, and boom, you did it. So give us a little history on how you figured it out over there at Seminole.
Well, we talked down in Florida about this. I performed absolutely terrible in 2019 on the national stage, and I couldn't understand why, because I felt like I knew how to fish, but I just couldn't do it, I guess, under pressure. But I think one of the biggest things that helped me at Lake Seminole was, hanging out with a good group of people that were pretty cool, level-headed folks, and we had a really good time in the week leading up to it. Even though I wasn't catching many fish every night, I knew that I was coming back to a group of people that were going to have a good time. So I was pretty relaxed. Going into Friday, I was confused though. I couldn't catch fish on the lake. The only place I'd had any kind of consistency was up in the Flint River. And I was sitting there and people were talking about shoal bass up in the Flint River, and I'm like, I never caught one of those. I'm like, I want to do that. And I didn't catch a single one of them, but I still, went up in the Flint and caught fish. So
now, what did it look like up there? Because I know I had heard rumors that it was kind of blown out and muddy up there. People were talking about fishing the lake.
It was a little bit more than kind of blown out. But the nice thing is that I felt comfortable because it was basically, to me, it was like a smaller Susquehanna River. The Susquehanna's, gets blown out pretty easy, gets muddy, and gets high really quick. And then that's what that river, the Flint, was. To me, looked like it was pretty high. Obviously, I don't live down there, I don't know it, but it looked like it was pretty high, and it was moving. It was moving really good. The current was definitely ripping down through there. If you were on a straight bank for a good while, you were in some current. So
you felt right at home. You went and fished your strengths, huh? That's what everybody tries to do, but you actually went and did it.
It's the only thing I could figure out, man. Earlier, when I say that I didn't catch a single fish on Lake Seminole, I didn't. catch a single fish on Lake Seminole.
That's wild.
I was irritated. I was angry. Thursday night, I was sitting there talking with my roommate, Donnie Bennett, and I'm like, dude, I don't even think I'm going to fish tomorrow because it was supposed to rain and be cold. I'm like, I'm just going to look at maps and try to figure something out and go to different launches. And that's basically what I did Friday. I woke up Friday morning. I was like, well, I'm just going to drive around and see what I can see, figure out from the looking at maps and going around and try to pick a launch with like the least amount of people at it. And what I ended up finding Friday, I went to a spot that I was on the Flint River and it was a creek that was pushing in some pretty good clear water. And it was, backing up right at the creek mouth. And I mean, I assume it's like this everywhere in the country, but back home around pre-spawn, if you find a creek that's pushing clean water into a muddy river, those fish tend to back up in there. And I figured that, I was looking at Navionics. This creek came out and was averaging around 5 to 6 feet of depth. And then as soon as you got to the river, it dropped down to like 10 feet. And then it was like another immediate drop off to like 20 feet. And I'm like, it had two really good points right on each side of the creek mouth. And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's probably going to be a really good pre-spawn staging spot. And that's where I went Saturday morning. I threw a dart in the dark.
No pre-fishing up there. You just went up there.
Nope, I didn't pre-fish it at all. I never seen it. I was hoping that Navionics was accurate, is what I was hoping, and it was. So
that's awesome. Now I know down on the lake, man, people were catching some big ones, and that day one, that guy ran out with 100 inches by the time I had my coffee and was like, "What the heck is going on?"
Boy, I didn't think there was any catching that. That was that was stifling.
when I uploaded, I don't. So I kind of have a thing where I don't normally look at a leaderboard until I upload my fifth fish.
Yep.
And when I looked at the leaderboard after I uploaded my fifth fish, there were expletives that left my mouth. I was like, I've never been this unhappy about a limit in my entire life. Like, how in the world does this guy just go out? And I think it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. He had 101 inches. And I'm like, what the crap?
Like 7:30.
He had 101, but yeah, by like 8 or so. Like, I mean, he did it dirty pretty fast because I was getting messages in our group chat like, holy cow, that dude just put up 100 inches by 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh, that's
it was insane. But then, I mean, later in the day, it looked like, I mean, you climbed up into the 90s. Somebody else was up in there too.
Donnie Bennett and Ryan.
Was Jason Broach had a big day, or was that day two? I mean, several people
day two.
Climbing.
Jason got on them day two pretty hardcore, man. He was catching some big fish.
And then Ryan, you had a flurry there late Saturday where you smashed them too. Got into contention.
Buddy, I pre-fished that spot, and I caught 4 fish out of that spot pre-fishing. They were all between 18 and 20 3/4. So I got out of there, and I was like, this is a good spot. Don't mess with it anymore. Day one, I messed around and caught a couple little fish early, and that's all I had on the board at like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then the big fish showed up, and it was like 18 and a half, 19 and a quarter, and 21 and a half within 35 minutes of each other. So I knew those fish were there, and I rolled the dice on day two because, I mean, cashing a check, that's fine, but I wanted to qualify for the TOC. Third place was my goal. Like, that's all I wanted, and I knew that I would need those fish. I would have needed 85, 86 inches to be in that game right there. So right. I rolled the dice and I lost. That's part of tournament fishing, That's how it goes. But in my mind, that was the only right choice. The only other spots I had, I could go catch, a limit of 12s or something, but I didn't want $800. I wanted to qualify for the TOC.
That's right. That's what we're all chasing. But you still ended up in the top 20, didn't you? Or close to it?
No. Top 40.
Top 40? Oh, okay. Well.
I caught 0 fish on day two and still ended up in 39th out of 125 or whatever. That's how tough the fishing was down there.
That new AOY system, you still got some points.
I got some points, man. I got still 4 or 5 BOS on the schedule, so I'm planning on. I'm getting in there. It's in Knoxville. I can't not fish the TOC. Yeah. I'm gonna figure out a way to get in there.
Yeah, we need to talk about that before we get out of here. That location got announced over the weekend, so that's pretty cool. Now, Ryan, you had some people around you where you were fishing. Jake, did you have any company up where you were in the river?
No, not a single. I mean, I shouldn't say not a single soul. So on day one, when I went out there, I don't remember the exact numbers of which ones I caught when, but I had a good limit, and I had called a couple times, and I decided that I was going to leave that spot and go upriver, try to find a couple eddies or something that I could pick up some fish in case, that spot wasn't productive on Sunday. And I ended up upgrading with a very odd looking 18.5-inch fish. Like, it had like big shoulders, but it looked like it was anorexic and it was long. And I'm like, there's just something wrong with you. But, I think
I took it, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I took it. I ended up catching another 17. So I think I had somewhere around 90 inches or so. And I was floating back down the river, and I watched a bass boat pull into my spot. And I watched him catch 2 giants off the spot. And I did something that I don't think I probably would have done up north. But I pedaled over to him, and I said, "Excuse me, sir." I'm like, "Are you fishing in it?" Well, I get close to him. I said, "Excuse me, sir, do you mind if I approach?" And he said, "I don't know why you want
to." That's military stuff right there, buddy.
Police right there, coming in for an approach. Let me see your hands on the steering wheel. 10 and 2, please.
Right. Yeah. So he goes, "I don't know why you'd want to do that." And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to go over great. But I get up to him, and I asked him if he was fishing tournament. He said, no, he's pre-fishing. I said, well, this is going to sound absolutely outlandish, but do you think you wouldn't mind not catching any more of these fish because I'm trying to manage them for tomorrow? And he's like, he goes, is there some big ones in here? And I said, I've been marking them all morning. And yes, there are in fact some big ones in here. And he goes, yeah, I just caught a 6 and a 7 right here. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And then he starts talking about like, hey, I'm using this DT6. And I'm like, I really appreciate you not, catching any more of these fish, but you can't tell me what I can't accept that advice. He's like, oh yeah, just pretend like you didn't hear me. And then he turned around and I was like, holy smokes, I don't think that would have happened up here. I think that person in Pennsylvania or New York or Maryland, that person would have probably, well, I can't say what they would have said because I'm on live. So,
well, they wouldn't have caught a 6 or 7 pound fish if they were up there. So that's one thing that would happen.
Easy. I don't know if you got that little guy right there, but he's 8. Ooh. He's 8.
I don't know if you guys follow Jake on Instagram, but he'd be throwing up some giant smallies up there on the Susquehanna. I know that.
These Susquehanna fish, dude, I'm lucky. I'm incredibly lucky to live 10 minutes from probably what is the most productive moving water smallmouth fishery in the country. It's not an attest to my angler abilities. I live in an amazing place. I mean, that's like these guys that live up at Erie and they're constantly catching 5-6 pound smallmouth, and people are like, "Oh my God, they must be great." Like, no, there's a lot of those up there.
That's what we say about the guys that live near Gunnersville. I'm just kidding.
I'll see you, Jeff. I'll see you down the street.
We ain't got no fish over here, Ryan. We got to drive somewhere to catch them.
Listen, I got a bunch of facts. You don't have fish over there. I made that mistake.
You gotta live on the lake like my buddy Kyle, catching them out of his backyard. That's how it happens over here.
Yeah. Now that was a good one.
So, Jake, day 2, did you go back to the same spot?
Yeah, it's all I had. I didn't have anything else, man. I went back to the same spot again. Day 2, didn't see I didn't see anybody, and not even a boat. Like day 1, I didn't see any kayakers. Day 2, I didn't see a boat, and I was like, wow. I was kind of expecting it, but I went out. Man, day 2 was. Like, I expected myself to, because I had not performed well on the national stage, I expected myself to be like super nervous and crap. But I was literally sitting in my car eating crackers at around 7:00 in the morning when we were able to launch. And I'm literally sitting there, and my only thought that came to mind was who makes saltine crackers without salt? And I think I posted about it on Facebook or something like that.
That was funny.
And, dude, I was mad about that. So then I put the crackers down and I went and got in my kayak and I pedaled out. And I sent my wife a text message and didn't expect her to be awake, and she wasn't. And told her that I was very happy with having her as a support system and everything like that, and how much that meant to me. And
You're smart guy.
I was a little bit cocky though, because I was like, I'm gonna go get this done for you because you're my rock. I sent that, and I have a screenshot that proves that I sent that text at 7:00 in the morning that said, I'm gonna go get this done for you. And then my fish weren't there, and I was like, yeah.
Then I text her back and was like, hey, lady, hang on just a minute. We're back to eat pork and beans for a month.
So I get out there, and I wasn't marking a single fish where I had found them at yesterday. Like not even bait fish, like not even little fish, nothing. And I was like, "Whoa, this ain't good." So I stayed there, and I think it was like probably 9:00 before I left that spot. I tried everything. I even threw a spoon. It was like a 1 1/4 ounce spoon, and just ripping it off the bottom, and nothing. So I left, and I went downriver a little bit, and that's when I landed my first fish, and I think it was like around 17 inches. And I kind of, at that point, I was like, I got to go check these eddies that I'd caught some upgrades out of yesterday. So I pedaled up to the opposite side of the river, and I ended up catching my third fish maybe around 11 o'clock. And I think they were like 15 and 16-inch fish were my other two. And then the biggest test of my day occurred. I'd lost a fish, and I don't know what it was. But then I was throwing a chatterbait up against the bank, and I switched over to a 3/4 ounce chatterbait because the 1/2 ounce wasn't getting down to the depth where I was marking fish, and the 3/4 ounce was obviously getting down there a lot quicker. And I did my thing. I was doing some rod twitches and whatnot to try to get them, changing direction and rod twitches to try to incite that strike. And then about halfway back to the boat, I was just burning it back so I could make my next cast. As soon as I started burning it back, I watched this fish come up out of the water with my chatterbait in its mouth, and I go to set the hook, and I basically ripped the hook right out of its mouth. And it was a big fish. If I had to guess, my eyes aren't calibrated, but if I had to guess, it was at least 18 or 19 inches.
Well, and cool. I'm glad at least you didn't say 25 inches to get us all.
No, I know. I'm not.
Could have been. Who knows?
I know people. I actually know people that fish the Susquehanna River that their eyes are calibrated. A couple other people know who they are too, but so I wasn't fazed by it though. You know what I mean? Like I literally just casted right back to the same spot, and I kept doing I didn't get upset. I didn't curse. I didn't let it bother me. I casted literally right back into the same spot. And then I landed my fourth fish, and I went live on Instagram for like 10 seconds, and I was like, one more. That's all I need is one more. And I texted my wife, and she's like, she was texting me, and she's like, you need two more. And I was like, no, I need one more. And I said, but don't worry, I'm going up here to this eddy, and I'm going to get one right now. And around, 250 in that eddy, cast it up against some cypress roots, and I let it slip down probably to about 10, 15 feet, gave it a real quick twitch of the rod tip, and just the hardest bite I think I've felt in a long time. Like this fish absolutely went, this fish needed some medication because it was this fish was angry for no reason. She destroyed a 3/4 ounce jackhammer on the fall, right as I twitched it, and I didn't give her any chance. I pencil sharpened her all the way back, and when I went to net her, I almost fell out of my boat, and I quick leaned back and fell back into my seat, and then I looked down in the net, and all I seen was head and mouth, and I'm like, goodness gracious!
That's a good feeling when you look down. That's all you see.
Yeah, I was like, this is good. So I pedaled real quick down to, because I was pretty close to my spot. I pedaled real quick down to the creek mouth, and I pulled up in it to get out of the current. And then I look down at this fish, and I pick it up, and then I'm like, holy shit. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm allowed. Am I allowed to curse on KBN? I don't
You're
know.
allowed to do anything on KBN.
Okay.
This isn't like network television, man. This is the internet.
Yeah,
So
no, you're good.
You
You're in
know,
the right spot.
I looked down, I seen it, and I was super excited about it, and I actually took a picture of the fish, and I sent it to my buddy Russell Johnson, because he had been in my DMs all day long. grind. I'm like, thank you, Russell, if you're watching. You know, I appreciate all the support, but my battery was at like 32%. So I texted him a picture of it, and his reply to me was, I literally just yelled out loud, and I was pretty happy. I probably should have told my wife that I caught the fish before I told Russell, but you know,
Yeah, right.
I think Russell understood.
now she knows. Hope she ain't watching this.
I don't hide it from her.
Okay.
She knows. Russell's like my on the water boo. You know, like if I catch a fish, I gotta text him, let him know about it.
Everybody needs one of those. Yeah.
I guarantee you right now, I'm getting a DM from him talking about, dude, I'm gonna kick your ass. But, you know, I texted him, and he was really happy for me, and that's when I pulled the fish out, measured it. It was just busting over 21 and a half, and I knew that I could get a little more out of her, so I turned her tail upwards a little bit, got that extra quarter inch. Yeah, just turned her butt up a little bit, got that extra quarter inch.
Yeah,
And so, you know, then, man, I was like, I got to submit this bad boy. So I submitted it, looked at the leaderboard, saw that I had overcome a 9-inch deficit from day one. And I don't care if anybody judges me or not. I cried a little bit.
Heck yeah, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then I called my wife, and I told her, I said, I think I just did it. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I just caught a 21 3/4 inch fish. I think I just did it. If no one upgrades, I think I just did it. And she, you know, very supportive, very happy. She's super excited about it. Hung up with her, and you know, Russell's still talking to me, and I'm like, dude, I can't even cast right now. Like I couldn't, like I was trying to skip a chatterbait under trees, which I had been doing for the last 15 hours of competition. I've been skipping chatterbaits under tree canopies. The first cast I tried to make after catching that fish, I threw right in the tree. I'm like, oh God, I got to go in there and get that. That's a $20 lure. And it was my only one that was white, and that was key. They would not bite, and I don't understand this. The water was chocolate milk, and they didn't want a black and blue. They wouldn't look at a green pumpkin. They wanted nothing to do with Bee Height Delight, which has always been a productive color.
Yep.
They would barely sniff at a white. You had to have white and chartreuse.
White chartreuse was the pattern I was on too, man.
If you didn't have a white and chartreuse, you weren't going to catch it, and you weren't going to catch them.
Yeah, Ryan.
You might, but
yeah, I think Ryan threw a few picks earlier in the week with the white and chartreuse hanging out the mouth.
Man, I'm not trying to hide it from nobody, man. That's the juice. Go buy you some, catch them. I had a bag of 30, man. I was handing them out at the house when people came in the door. That's what.
Wait, what? Yeah. What house was that? Because I wasn't there.
Because it was at the house.
Oh,
That was my boys.
Oh, I got to get on that level to get free jackets.
Club Seminole, man. Yeah, you don't want to get on the house stuff. Some bad things happen at the house.
Never mind.
Y'all were over at the PG rated place.
Earlier in the comments, when you said you were eating crackers at 7 a.m., somebody said Ryan was still asleep at 7 a.m. That was probably due to the house.
Listen. No, I got up on time every time for this one. Ask Jake. I drank two beers on Saturday night and went to bed early. And what happened? I skunked on Sunday. I'm never doing that again. Ever. That's not happening. I'm sorry. It's not me. I'm not about that life.
I got you.
Listen, when I launched on Saturday morning, I think Ryan was posting something about being pissed off that everyone in his house was up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh my God. No, I'm sitting there asleep. My alarm was set for 6:30. First cast is at 7:30. My ramp is 7 minutes from the house. There's cabinets slamming, showers on, people singing. I walk out and I said, "What tournament are y'all fishing? Mine does not start for another 3 hours." And Shane, of course, says, "Oh, here we go." I don't know what's wrong with my people, man. I don't know. It hurt me.
I mean, it didn't work out all that bad on day one, though.
It tried to. It tried real hard to not work out.
You probably didn't have to get on the water until about noon.
No, that was my thing. Is like I could have slept into noon easily.
Yeah, I gotta try that these days.
Maybe I recommend it,
on
man.
That Ryan Lambert level.
You gotta work up to that one.
Hey, some people may not realize this, but Jake and I are Old Town teammates, and over on the Old Town page, Duke was posting some stuff, screenshots of the leaderboard. Everybody was pulling for you over there, and it was late in the day with the last screenshot I saw. How late in the day did you say you caught that last fish?
40 minutes before lines out. 10 minutes before they turned off the leaderboard. Yeah, I actually considered not posting it, but that would have been against everything that I stand for. Because I was going to wait until the leaderboard shut off to post it, but I couldn't do that. Like I am the person that I have never sandbagged on a fish, and you can ask AJ. I think every fish that was submitted, the picture was taken, and I think was submitted almost immediately. I hate doing that. I think that, man, to make these tournaments as fun and as competitive as they can be, you've got to submit your fish when you catch them. I just don't like the whole sandbagging aspect.
I don't submit until I have a limit, generally speaking.
Okay, that's fair.
I catch a couple big fish early, I'll submit just to kind of push people. But I usually, like, if I've caught like 14s or 15s, I won't submit till I have a limit. And like I talked to AJ on day one, I called him. I was like, AJ, I'm not sandbagging. I only have 2 fish on the board. I'm waiting on my bite to turn on. Like, I promise I'm not holding back on anything because I don't like sandbagging either. I like looking at the leaderboard. I like it kind of pushing me, like you know what you need and you make some moves. I enjoy that kind of competition part of it.
I mean, if you're sandbagging, you should fish the online tournaments.
You heard that.
Hey, you know what though? Here's the deal. This is real talk. I've seen the sandbagging burn some people because they dropped their phone in the lake or broke something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's another thing I was afraid of, man. Like so going back to my comfort level in this tournament, like I didn't care Friday night because I hadn't caught but 5 fish all week. Like I was there from Monday through Thursday fishing, and I caught 5. So when I got on the water, like I didn't care. I'm like, whatever. If I catch a fish today,
we tied one home pretty good Friday night. Friday nights when me and Siddiqui were putting all those empty beer bottles in Donnie's boat, and I don't know what you heard. You must have heard the click unclick on his damn boat cover, and you come running out of the room, and I was like, whoa.
Listen,
You're good, bro.
First off, let's reverse that because I'm not a big drinker. One, I think I might have had 3 Yinglings that night. And let me explain to you what I heard, because maybe you were slightly more intoxicated than you believe. But I heard outside rattling beer bottles and laughter. And I come out of the door and I see like you two just got your hands caught in a cookie jar and Donnie's boat covers off. And I'm like, what in the hell are y'all doing? And you're like, go back inside. We don't need any witnesses. I'm like, what is happening here? Poor Donnie gets to launch on Saturday morning. He's got a boat full of beer bottles. And he posted it like, I know who's behind this. Lambert, blah, 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 blah. I mean,
and then I see that, and then I pull into the boat launch, and there sits Donnie, and I was like, well, all right.
Did you help him clean them out, Ryan?
No. They were already cleaned out by the time I got there, Jeff. I like to wait until I get there. So I pull up to this launch, and there's Donnie, and there's Matt Ball, and I'm like, Matt's a stick. he's very consistent all over. And I'm like, we're probably going to catch some fish in here. And we went out and caught, me and Donnie did well on like the second lake down. And Brandon Watson, an Alabama guy, he was fishing with us. He was also, pretty far up there. Matt Ball caught, I think, 112.5-inch fish on day one. So on day two, Matt Ball freaking stroked him. So he was on the other side of the bridge from the flat I was fishing. And I got back to the ramp, and he's like, how'd you do today? And I was like, I couldn't get a bite. I don't know where my fish went. And he's like, I think I know where they went. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I sat here at the other end of this ditch. He's like, me and my buddy wore him out all day today. And I was like, well.
Him and Tim Isaacs were over there.
Oh, yeah, him and old Tim Bob, they knocked the bottom out of it over there.
Those two guys can fish, man. Anytime they're in a tournament, and those guys can just fish. Like, I've been around them. I stayed with Tim last year at the 10 Invitational, me, Tim, and Russell. That's a wealth of knowledge right there. And Matt, I know Matt is and I had a conversation actually on my way home the other day with Jeff Little. Matt is an excellent human being.
He is.
He's not just a great angler. He's not just a great, husband or father or Christian. He is, if anyone in this world has a role model, it should be Matt Ball.
I love spending time with Matt Ball. I do. He's a good guy.
And I talked to him a little bit actually today and basically told him the same exact thing. There's a few people in this industry that I looked up to when I first started, and he was one of them. Seeing what he did and the way he did it and the way he conducted himself. Last year at the national championship, I was having trouble. And, he came over and he was talking to me. He's like, try this. And I tried it and it worked. And I'm like, that's awesome. For someone of that, of that stature in this industry to be willing to come down and help someone catch fish. It's not about the competition. It's about basically with him, it's the brotherhood, and it's for real. It's not just like the fake brotherhood that you talk about on YouTube videos. It's the real brotherhood.
Amen. So you met Jamie Koza. We were hanging out right there. We spent a lot of time with the Kozas. That was his first kayak tournament. That was Jamie's first ever, delve into the kayak world. And that's something, when I was going home Sunday, he called and we had a conversation, and he's like, the group of us that were hanging out there, he's like, you're all supporting each other. You're all helping each other, giving each other advice, whatever they need. He's like, that's the dip. That's why things are moving in the direction that they are on this side of things. You're the givers and not the takers. He's like, none of you are out here trying to make money off this stuff. Like, you're doing this because you love it and you want to see the people around you succeed. And I mean, that's the same thing with, Matt helping you out, getting on that bike at the national championship. You want to see everybody succeed. I want you performing at your highest level of competition. Even if I'm competing against you, I want to beat you at your best. I don't want to beat you when you had a bad day or you're real messed up or you lost a box of chatterbaits on the way to the ramp. I want you to be on your A game, man. I want it all.
I feel bad for that person, man. That person. Listen, last year I had a box of spinnerbaits in my kayak, and I was trailering it, and I was going to one of these launches on the Susquehanna River, and the whole box bounced out. I hundreds of dollars worth of spinnerbaits, and I was just I was devastated because a lot of them were custom spinnerbaits because I love spinnerbaits, man. I was like, man, I was devastated, man. I couldn't imagine if that would have happened to me. No joke. Well, first off, I got one of them new Plano jig boxes.
They're legit, huh?
Dude, for real. If that thing, first off, that thing's like $40 alone. If that thing would have fell out of my kayak, I probably would have turned and just went home. Said, I'm done. This week's over. I ain't got nothing left for this week. But inside of that box is probably, I don't know, $500-600 worth of jackhammers. I would have been, you know what? Forget me. My wife would have been devastated because I was buying. I mean, I can promise you that.
Lean your head to the right there for a minute. I think you're okay with, or to the other way, to the left.
To the other right.
To the other right. Yeah, I think you're okay if you'd have
lost. Show me that money.
Show me that money. If you'd have lost some jackhammers, you'd have been all right. You could have recovered.
No,
Well, yeah.
if he would have sold jackhammers, he wouldn't have had that check hanging out.
Oh, that was before the tournament. I thought you meant after the tournament. You almost lost him, leaving out of there.
No. Some guy lost a whole box of chatterbaits.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was a guy from California.
That was New Day. That he was in my house. I gave him chatterbaits out of my bag.
I got you.
You were a real nice guy. Yeah.
Put it on my tab, brother.
What are you on that Z-Man Pro staff?
Yes, actually.
Now that you mention it, yes, he is.
Well, I mean, hey, that's something I would love to be on because I've given them a lot of money over the past couple of years.
So was this your first BOS event?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Dude, it's unmatched. It's unmatched. At a local level back here in the Mid-Atlantic region, I fish the MAKBF. And I would say that you would be hard pressed to find a better run local level, like grassroots type trail. Josh Evans, Aaron White, Matt, like those dudes know how to run a trail, and they are phenomenal at it. But at a national stage level, dude, this I'm excited for Bass. I mean, I am. I think Steve and those guys are going to do a great thing over at Bass, and I have absolute confidence in their abilities. But AJ and the way he did things, it was just amazing. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people, like no one complained. There was like one person that complained the entire week. That was for 125 people on the first inaugural event of the year. Like those guys killed it, man.
You can go to the sixth event of the year or the third event of the year. It's the same because they put that much effort into making it so angler focused. If you notice, like everything they did was about you. You guys, us, like. They put it all into the angler, from the daily updates to the captain's meetings, the day one recaps. I mean, it's all about the anglers.
I mean, it was a really cool atmosphere. Just being there and experiencing that, it definitely makes me want to do more of them. And since we're on that topic, obviously finishing where I finished, I qualified for the TOC, which I'm super excited about because there's rivers.
It's insane.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that, but I'm going to have to take some leave from work for that. So I had to take something off the schedule, and I had to take off Erie because I was taking 32 hours worth of vacation time for Erie, and it's like a 5-hour drive from my house, but I'm going to replace it with Kentucky Lake. I'm pretty excited about that. I think Kentucky Lake is going to be fun. Never been there. I'm just gonna go there and I think I'll take the family that week.
It's beautiful down there, and Kentucky Lake's kind of the crown jewel event for the BOS series. It and St. Clair used to be their only two events until they signed off on doing this kind of national trail. It's a great event. It's a really good venue. Kentucky Dam Village, they roll out the red carpet for us. Get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I wanted to fish the lacrosse event because it would have been like pre-fishing for the bass event.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Dinner's right there. I don't know if you could. Dinner's right there.
These Yankees, they wild out here.
Whatever. Listen, I'm still recovering from Big Jim's seafood. Like
you didn't eat the oysters, did you?
I know, no.
Oysters Kevin Nakata had smelled rank. They smelled rough, boy.
Listen, first off, big shout out to Big Jim's. Awesome place. Great food. Great, Southern hospitality. Awesome place. I would definitely go back there. But Big Jim, if you're listening, them oysters, bro, we need to do something because that basically looked. I mean, oh God, they look like somebody just blew snot rockets inside of shells and brought them out.
Okay, well, that's oysters, but Kevin said they were delicious. They smelled terrible, but he said they were great. He ate 3 dozen. Hell, they couldn't have been that bad.
Okay, look, I mean, they're for somebody. They're not for me. I wasn't, nope.
We got a few questions from the crowd about the state of the lake. Some people asked, how many fish did you catch overall for the 2 days? What stage were the fish in, do you think, and what was the water temp?
For me, I caught 10. I caught more than 10, but I caught limits both days. On day 2, I caught a limit. That was it. That 21 3/4 inch fish was 5. I lost 2. Yeah, I lost 2, but I like I said, I don't like to think about that. That's because they're not lost. They just weren't ever gotten. But on day 1, it was, I think I caught like maybe 10 or 12 fish, but they weren't, I wasn't culling. A lot of them were small. They were your typical river fish. They were slim, and they weren't big fish. Like they didn't even weigh a lot. Even that 21 3/4 was the biggest fish I'd caught all week. And that fish, I would say, was probably 6, maybe 6.5. I thought maybe initially it was like 7, but looking back at it, it was probably like a 6 or 6.5 pounder. But I'm assuming that's a damn good river fish, no matter where you're at. But I caught day 1. I caught a good many fish. I was culling, and I started off with, I think in the morning I had a decent limit. I was in the mid 80s. And then at the end of the day, so it's funny, I said about that boat being on the spot, and after he left, I sat there. I'm like, I don't have the, intestinal fortitude to ask somebody else to stop catching fish. Like I was nervous doing that. Like, is this guy going to pull a gun on me and tell me to go to hell? Like, I don't know what's going to happen right now. But I sat there and I basically threw something that I don't like throwing, that I don't have confidence in. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit there and try to, mess around for the last 2 hours of the day. So I threw a shaky head, and I felt 2 bites. I had 2 fish pick it up and drop it. And I had another fish towards the very end of the day pick it up, swim out into the current with it, swim back into the eddy with it, swim in a circle, and I'm like, bro, drop it. Just drop it. Just drop it. And he wouldn't drop it, so I jacked him. I crossed his eyes, and it was like 19.5, I think.
Dang.
So it was I think it brought me up to like 92.5 inches. And I was like, this is it. I'm done. I pedaled back into the creek, and I think I caught one more pickerel, because I had caught pickerel early in the morning. This is going to be great. I actually have a couple pictures of me like making frowny faces with pickerel.
Frowny faces.
Dude, it was bad. My first 2 fish in the morning on day 1 were pickerel, and I was like, that's great. This is going to be fantastic.
Hey, let me stop you, Jake. Put your phone a little bit more out in front of you. There you go.
Which one, like right here?
Yeah. Somebody said you look like a thumb.
Listen, you can tell that person to get at me in my DMs. I got words for him. I don't care.
Chris Santoro.
Oh, listen.
Look like a thumb.
Said your head was just sticking up in the corner like a thumb there. So
whatever.
You're good now. All right, now
tell Chris he's trying to make that video. But I didn't answer the question. They were definitely pre-spawn.
Yeah.
The fish I were catching were definitely pre-spawn. I had 53 to 54 degree water temps. They were staging off the points on the like right off the creek. The big females were on those points, and the males were up in the creek mouth. That's where I caught I basically caught a limit of small fish in the morning, and they were mostly males. They were in the creek or at the creek mouth. The females came on points, and that was the whole way up the river. Anytime I'd upgraded, they came off of a point. And for day 1, they were high up in the water column. They were, those fish were in between 5 and 10 feet deep. And day 2, whenever the sun got high, they moved down. They moved down in the water column. That's why I had to bump up to that 3/4 ounce chatterbait. The nice thing is that from the time I caught my second pickerel on day 1 in the creek, I switched over to 30-pound braid because I wasn't losing jackhammers to stupid pickerel. So I threw every fish I caught except for that one on a shaky head was caught on straight 30-pound Suffolk 832 moss green. And whenever I was using the 3/4 ounce on day 2, I actually switched over to a 7.4 heavy moderate as one of the Temple Fork Outfitter pacemaker rods, and that's what I was throwing that chatterbait on.
Hey.
I tell you what, the hook sets I was getting, they were deep. Like,
so I'll tell you, I recently switched over for this tournament. I've heard a couple people talk about it, Christine being one of them, the St. Croix Legend Glass rods for chatterbaits. I didn't lose one single fish all week on that thing. And the main thing is because it's so sensitive and it literally just loads up. You don't have to, like I used to use a graphite rod, and I'd bust them pretty hard like I was jig fishing. I really did like that. I hate to admit that I didn't know everything, but I really liked how that glass rod performed, especially in the grass. Being able to feel it coming through the grass and then load up and not having to worry about getting that chatter thrown just because there was so much bend in that rod.
I get what you're talking about because the TFO rods, they're pretty sensitive. They're not glass, but it's a moderate action, very moderate. It's not like moderate fast. It's more close to like moderate slow. It's a very, there's a very good parabolic bend in that rod, and it's super sensitive, man, because at the end of both day 1 and day 2, you ever like rode a motorcycle and you rode it for a long time and your hands were like you take them off the steering wheel, off the handlebars, and like they still feel like tingly. That's how my hands felt at the end of the day, because it all day long is that jackhammer is just doing work, and like my hands were still vibrating at the end of day 1. I'm like, man, I can go find me a girl right now. My hands are vibrating.
That's how I felt blowing y'all off the boards in cornhole. Like my hands were just
dude,
and it was some crazy energy there.
Donnie Bennett will work you over in a game of cornhole 1-on-1.
Oh no,
my man Donnie. Man Donnie.
Hey, I want to go back to something you said about the shaky head, Jake. How big a coal was that 19 that you didn't shake off?
It was like 3 inches, I think, 3.5 inches.
So if you shake that fish off after letting him swim up and down the river, you lose the tournament.
Basically, yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. That's wild.
You
were trying to shake him off and couldn't.
I was, dude. I honestly thought I didn't think that I was going to have any issues with those fish being there, because river fish, in my experience, they're very predictable. And normally when you're on a bite, it's pretty consistent with river fish. Lake fish can change like that. But for me, I was thinking, these fish are definitely going to be here. They're pre-spawned. They're not going anywhere. They're going to stay in eddies because the river's high. They're going to stay probably close to the creek mouth because they need to spawn soon, and they know that. So in my mind, I was like, these fish, and that's why I stood up there on day 1 when we were up there, and they're like, how do you feel about tomorrow? And I'm like, I'm on something pretty good. I said that confidently. I wasn't saying that jokingly. I wasn't saying that to make people laugh. I, honest to God, thought Sunday morning when I pulled up into that creek mouth that I was going to jack 95 to 100 inches, because that's what I knew was there. I watched those fish swim around on my electronics on day 1, going out to the creek. It was small dots. When I got to the creek mouth, those dots looked like whales. Like they were big. And I'm like, I'm thinking, man, like this is it. Like maybe I could have another 100-inch day. And that was what I was thinking. But the sun pushed them and they moved them. I don't know.
What's on your agenda this year, Jeff? What big events are you going to hit?
You asking me, you said?
Yeah.
I think
you fishing this year?
I'm thinking about it. It's easier to talk about it than to go do it, isn't it? Some people. No, I've got Fork. Actually, I got a real busy 3 or 4 week stretch. I'm hitting Fork, Logan Martin, and back to Fork for the second bass event right after that. So three events in 4 weeks. It's going to be a fun little month there.
I'm going to hit Logan Martin for sure. I'd like to make one of the forks. I know I'm doing Lake Norman, so that's going to fall in. I think that overlaps with the Bass Fork event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Isn't that a little too far north for you?
What's that?
Isn't that a little too far north for you?
No, I ain't scared of y'all.
No, listen. I'm just thinking like, it might be a little cold.
No, South going to rise again, Playboy. I ain't scared of none of it.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to come over your way in May, Ryan, Chickamauga, for that bass event.
Ooh.
Hey,
listen.
You going to give me some juice?
Myself, I'm going to go ahead and put this out here. Me and Shane, we are not going to Westbound Bar the night before the tournament. I'm not doing it. We're not going to Mike's Hole in the Wall. I'm going to get up and go fish.
You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first. Write that down. If you see my truck at any of those, call Jake and have him come arrest me because I have violated my parole.
You just said that Saturday night you drank 2 beers and went to bed early and you didn't catch a single fish on Sunday. And now you're saying you're not going to drink and you're going to fish?
No. You got confused. I did not say I'm not going to drink. I said I'm not going to those 2 places because we drank way too much when we did that, and I didn't get on the water till 9:45 on Chickamauga, which is my favorite lake on earth.
Well,
That was my bad.
Shane said he's canceling. He chimed in and said he's canceling then.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, same difference, I guess, right?
Oh,
No,
shade.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Bit shade.
That one was rough. That was tough.
No, I can't say nothing. I wasn't even there. So,
As long as Shane remembers his identifier when he leaves the house, he's gonna be all right. I feel like Shane's gonna make a run this year.
Yeah.
Jeff, you and I had a conversation down in Florida where I was trying to convince you to come to Lake Seminole. Do you remember that?
Yes, except I flew to Miami and then flew
Right.
home.
And I guarantee we could have gotten you a boat to fish in
Easily.
I could have got to Seminole, but I'd have had to skip something else. I can't do them all.
I mean,
that's a terrible attitude to have, to be honest.
I'd like to do them all. I just can't do them all. But like I said, I got my little streak of tournaments coming up here pretty quick. So Forks, one of my favorite places to fish in the entire world. So having to get to fish 2 tournaments within a month is going to be awesome there.
So we had heard rumor there was a bunch of guys that were supposed to come up if they didn't win the 10 Invitational. They were supposed to come up and fish Seminole, and I mean, 0 of them made it. I don't know what happened there. I thought that was really going to be a last minute push on the numbers, but
where was the invitational at? It was in the Kissimmee chain, right?
Kissimmee chain, yeah.
How far away from where we were was that? An hour.
Oh man, that's probably like I'd say 6.5 hour drive or so, roughly.
I know when I left Fort Lauderdale, what was it, Sunday night, Jeff?
Yeah.
That's when you flew out, right? Sunday night, it took me every bit of 6.5 hours to get up to Seminole, and that was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, it was a brutal drive because it was basically nothing.
Yeah.
Like, driving through nothing. So, maybe that was I don't know.
Oh no, I was hoping to see some of those guys there, man. We keep getting, I'm going to be there. I want some guys to show up, man. I want to see everybody get together on this stuff. I think are either of y'all coming to the national championship? No.
Negative.
All right.
I'm shooting the
I'll
national championship for me is TOC in Knoxville if I can make it.
Amen, brother.
That's my national championship.
That's going to be a hell of an event. I tell you, there's 2 people you don't want to see qualify for that tournament: Jordan Marshall and Eric Thompson.
Hey,
if you see those 2 names on the list.
Let me go back to the comments because Eric Thomason chimed in when Jake said that his buddy Russell was his boo on the water. Eric Thomason chimed in and said Ryan's boo is Jordan Marshall. That's what he said.
That's baby brother right there.
Baby
Me and
brother,
Jordan,
okay.
we used to get to go back and forth quite a bit. Jordan used to drive like 2 hours down to fish with our local club, and me and him, I mean, it was just gum bumping the whole time. And you want to talk about putting on a show, man? Neither one of us quit on fishing day. Like we pushed each other hard. I miss that all the time.
That's awesome.
What were y'all doing the whole time?
Gum bumping. Talking that trash, son.
Okay. All right. Maybe that's
You just heard the bumping part. You got scared.
It's kind of like I mean, it's like, when you're on the water boozing your DMs and you're crying on the water. It's kind of like that, except a Southern man thing.
I see what you did there.
Hey, Christine chimed in and said Alan Reed did come up from the Temptation.
Alan Reed did. I
He
did
did
see
make it.
Alan there, and that was awesome.
Yeah, he
I'm
did.
glad.
That man is well traveled. He fishes a lot of tournaments all over the place. So
Yep.
good on him for making that trip.
One of my favorite parts of this weekend was watching a Hobie technical support guy completely fix a hole in another brand of kayak. And I don't know if you've seen that or if you were there for that, Ryan. We had a guy who had gotten into some trees because I guess there's some wood on Seminole.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. But he had a hole in his kayak on the bottom at the crease where it kind of connected. And, one of the Hobie guys, I forget his name. It might have been Kevin. Kind of the skinny build guy.
The skinny Hobie dude. Yeah, that's probably Kevin then.
He basically, like, they were shaving pieces off of this dude's kayak, melting them up. Dude, this was sketch because they're like, all right, we need a spoon, a lighter, and a putty knife, and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we?
Yeah, right. And a tiny needle.
So like they sent this dude down to get a metal spoon from Big Jim's and a lighter, and I'm like, this is not good. This is not good. Like, you can't go to Big Jim's and say, can I get a spoon and a lighter? But either way, like they melted up this plastic, and this dude legit he fixed it. He plastic welded a kayak right there in the dark. And then dude went out and tested it the next day and fished out of it in the tournament.
That's impressive. And I'll say there was a ton of wood down there. And I was in AJ's PA12, and I had the 180 drive with the kick-up fins. So, one of my biggest fears, forever with a Mirage drive was hitting wood and rocks and stuff. Man, those kick-up fins, I beat them to death. I mean, I'm serious. Beat them to death. Grass, wood, hats off to the Hobie crew. They saved that one. I mean, that was a solid move right there.
Hey, let me tell you something from watching from home. Seeing the brands cross over and not be brand biased. The camera boats were following Old Town guys, bona fide guys. It didn't matter.
Yep.
They were putting them out there, which is cool.
Next,
Jake's getting some over there.
I'll be awake in the morning to get you on the bus.
And then Old Town, they're sharing Jake's stuff on social media with the Hobie banners in the background. Didn't care.
Yep.
Yeah, you like to see that kind of crossover between the brands. What just happened there, Jake? Did we get on a touching moment in the family? What was that?
My 12-year-old's going to bed because he's got to go to school in the morning.
All right.
Now, he has a big day tomorrow because tomorrow he's going to get his honor roll certificate. Yeah. So,
shout out to little Harshman.
He definitely got his mother's brain, not mine. So, but yeah, man, it was cool just seeing all the different people and stuff come together down there and help each other. Because there was people stuck on logs. There was people that broke equipment. When old dude had a hole in his kayak, there was another guy come over and said, listen, man, I have an extra Hobie. If you want it, we can rig up all your electronics in 30 minutes and get you on the water, and you can fish out of it tomorrow. And I guess I don't really have to be concerned about, it was a bona fide kayak that had a hole in the bottom of it. And, they're like, he's like, well, I really feel comfortable fishing out of my platform, but that is a great option, and I appreciate it, and we'll use it as a last resort. So, dude, the people that came together, man, it was legit. I didn't see any of that at any other national level tournaments that I've been to. I didn't see the groups of people playing cornhole, drinking Yinglings. You didn't get that. You just never seen that at any of the other events. Even at the national championship, the groups that I was with, nothing against the groups I was with. I love the groups I was with, but it was more business oriented, and it wasn't like, let's go have fun.
It's fun, but you still get treated like a pro.
I think what we'll see, and I hope this is what we see, kind of the vibe that we had, Jake, where everybody, they're in Big Jim's, I want to see us grow this to the level to where we can all travel together. You know, it's a tour. It's a legitimate tour. Like, you're all staying at the same campgrounds. You know, you go eat dinner together at night, and you go back and hang out and watch sports, and you know, play cornhole or whatever. Like, I want to see this sport get to the level to where, you know, that's an available option for us. I think that's so much fun. I mean, that's what this is all about.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really good time. Like, I mean, I know I can't say that it wasn't a good time because I had a successful weekend. But, dude, if you'd asked me Friday night, I'm like, well, if I don't catch fish by noon tomorrow, I'll see y'all boys on at Norman. It was fun, but another cool thing like that was of all the stuff that happened is like, so obviously I won and I was able to do that and everything, but I got to meet Mike Iaconelli after the tournament. Went back to the Hobie house. I met Mike. He talked to Jacob on the phone, my son that just went to bed. And it wasn't like, it was genuine. You know what I mean? Like, when Mike got on the phone with him, he's like, hey man, like, what are you doing? How are you doing in school? Like, do you like to fish? And Jacob's like, yeah, I like to fish. He's like, oh, cool. He's like, what's your favorite lure? And Jacob's like, a whopper plopper. And like, he was about it. You know what I mean? Like, it was cool. Like, just and seeing Mike on the other end, it wasn't laboring. It wasn't, he wasn't not excited. Like, he was smiling. He was genuinely interested in my son, somebody he's never met, in me. The first time he's ever met me, he's talking to my kid on the phone. It was really cool having that atmosphere. And then afterwards, getting to sit and talk to him about fishing and stuff. Like, a lot of people get this image of Mike that he's like some cocky northerner that just yells and screams. But if you talk to people that know him and that have fished with him, it doesn't matter if that dude's fishing the Bassmaster Classic or if he's out back fishing in his pond and catches 12-inch fish out of his pond, he's going to get excited. When it's not for show and it's not on camera and he's still getting excited, I love that, man.
Mike's a really good dude. I mean, their whole crew, Charles Daughtry, Brian the Carpenter, like, I talked to them quite a bit. I mean, they're all of them, like, they're just, genuine, laid-back guys. I think we're going to try to do another Ike Live here in the next month or so. I'm going to go up there and fish with those guys, and I know they're doing a lot in the small boat game, and I think, I've got them talking with Tennessee Trailers about partnering with them on some stuff. So they're Becky and Mike both they're just class act folks.
Yeah.
And Randy Howell, he came to the Gunnersville BOS event. He's another just good old boy. He'll sit back and tell you anything you want to know.
Jeff, can I talk real quick about something and it's about another pro, and it's something that helped me this weekend?
Depends what it is. No, yeah.
It's about Daryl Swindle. A lot of people, I don't know, everyone should know who he is.
Yeah.
But one thing, just starting to talk about Mike, one thing it reminded me, like, has anyone seen that 5-part series that G-Man did on positive mental attitude? Have either of you guys seen it?
I've seen the whole thing. I've seen parts of it.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, on Saturday and Sunday, I was replaying that stuff in my mind. One, he's an easy dude to listen to because he's funny. And listening to him talk, I'm genuinely interested in what he has to say. But, like, the way he broke things down, and I am in no way, shape, or form comparing myself to KBD, but in the one segment he said, I watched, on one episode of the tournament or whatever, KBD casted out, lost a 6-pounder, cast right back out, loses a 7-pounder, casts right back out and goes right back at it. Like, that stuck with me. And whenever I lost that big fish on Sunday, that was my limit fish. That was my fish that could have put me in contention. I never let it faze me because the whole entire time I was thinking positive mental attitude. I had my wife in my text messages, positive mental attitude. She's like, keep grinding, stop being a ridiculous retard and catch more fish. And I'm like, okay, babe, God, like, she was pushing me. Like, I'll send you, Jeff. I should have sent you some of the screenshots you could have put on the screen here, but
that's awesome.
If just that positive mental attitude, man, for anybody anybody that's fishing, they need to watch that. They really do. They need to watch that, and they need to take heed, because that helped me out a lot.
Where's Katie back at? She needs to throw them. She's always clutch with the links. She needs to throw the link to that in the comments real quick. Come on, Katie, get us those links.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Just search Gerald Swindle Positive Mental Attitude, and you're going to be in for a laugh. But don't forget to take away the important information that he's conveying, because it's for real. Like that helped me out tremendously, and that might.
You need to get Katie's payroll checks coming out a little faster. Apparently, that may be the holdup. It's taking you 2 months to get her paid.
What kind of?
Hey, speaking of not getting paid, is this a good segue? Before we get out of here tonight, we've been on here about a little over an hour. It's been a great interview. We appreciate you, Jake. But there's a big tournament coming up here in about a month and a half, and there's been a change in tournament director. Ryan, you want to touch on that at all?
I don't know. So, I mean, I heard earlier today that we've had him on here before. Richard Penny, who is, he's been a staple in KBF, is no longer with KBF. And from my understanding, which I've been wrong before, but I think Joe Hobbenrich is going to be TDing the national championship this year, from what I understand.
Has he ever been a tournament director of an event that size?
Yes. He maybe not of that size, but I will speak that he did a phenomenal job up at Erie at the Open in 2018. Joe,
that was there. How many did you guys have there? 100 or so, maybe?
I don't know. I don't know how many people. He's been a TD. I don't know how.
For 100 and 1,000 is a big difference.
Well,
I'm not great at math, but I think there's a few hundred differences there. But
good luck to everybody over there and to the people waiting around for the results. Godspeed to you. Hopefully it's Ryan getting a big check at 2 a.m. I'll be pulling for you, Ryan.
Hey man, yeah, seriously. So on a real serious note, so Christy Hoover, she had to have emergency surgery last week. Love Christy to death, I really do. She's one of my favorite people in the world. Want to send her some, well wishes. Hopefully she recovers quickly and is back on the grind.
Yeah. Prayers up for Christy. And any other questions from the crowd? Anything else you want to say, Jake?
Something else to mention, man. Cody Prater, he was down there at the BOS event. He and Ron Champion, and I know Clint Henderson's involved, and Matt Ball, the Kayak Fishing Fellowship. What they're doing is really cool, man. That's I really like that. They had a big meeting and getting everybody together and kind of sharing another side of the fellowship here in the sport. I think that's really awesome.
Oh man, I got to go to his first one down at Lake Fork, and we did a little pre-recorded podcast a week or two ago talking about all that, and it is cool stuff. And I think he's going to do it again at Fork at the next BOS event. So if you guys are going to be there, whoever's going to be there that's watching, show up and have a good time.
You asked. I'm sorry. We're a little bit behind. I wasn't. I thought you might have been done.
No. Go for it.
So with that being said, one of the things that Cody and Ron.
Bye, Ryan. Hey,
I'm sorry about that.
Raise your
slowly
camera.
just moving away. So, but they took up that collection for the community down there, and out of 125 of us or whatnot, they raised a little over $1,000 or $1,100 or something like that. If anyone is interested in helping out that community of Bainbridge, you should get in contact with Ron Champion or Cody Prather. And if you have a little bit of extra money, you should give it to them, because those folks opened their arms up to us and they welcome us to their community. And the entire time I was down there, I was not met with a single negative person. Those folks legit down there, they need your help and they deserve it. The Milner family was pretty key in doing that. That was that family that I had met there on Monday as I was launching. It came over and wanted to check out my awesome kayak, Old Town Predator PDL.
Yes, sir.
So they came over and were checking out my boat and everything, and they just genuinely good people. And I actually had a conversation with them over the instant messenger, and they had some very kind words to say for me. And that little boy actually, on his way home with his dad that day after they stopped and talked to me about my kayak, he's like, "Dad, can we pray for him?" I'm not a very religious person myself. I don't attend church. I do believe in God, but they literally they put me in their prayers and their hearts, and they never met me aside from that first time right there talking about a kayak. That may have been why I landed that 21 3/4 inch fish at the end. That may have been why I set the hook on that 19.5 at the end of day one. You know, that maybe that was something that legitimately had some play in it. And, you know, those folks deserve your help. So if anybody wants to donate, you should probably get in contact with Ron Champion or Cody Prather and see what you can do. And I'm sure they can get you in touch with or take your money and get it to the right people.
Yes, sir. If anyone's got any links to that, hook us up, put it on the actual Facebook group page. Or
I think if you just got in touch with Ron or Cody, I think they would, because they were doing it amongst themselves, taking up the collection. I don't think there was any like GoFundMe or link or anything like that. But the other thing, and it's, you know, call it a shameless plug, but this is serious. I fished in that river in heavy current all week, or not all week, but both days. If I didn't have the right boat to do it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And having that aggressive keel on that Predator PDL was the only reason why I still had legs left at the end of those 2 days. Legit, that had everything to do with the reason why I was able to fish that tournament the way that I did and have success doing it. Because if I had one of them big, wide, 52-inch kayaks with a flat bottom.
Hey, we got to see how that worked against those ripping tides down there in Florida too. They just cut right through that, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it had something to do with it. It really did. And I know, you know, I'm on Old Town's pro staff, and everyone's gonna say, "Oh, he's just another pro staffer." No, I believe in the damn product. I believe in the damn product, and I love the damn product.
Preach, son, preach.
There was a reason I was able to fish that river.
Both of y'all.
Hey, I had to put up with this crap.
Come run through the grass real quick and we'll talk.
Hey, I had
the river, boy.
I had to put up with this crap when I had all these Hobie guys on, so bear with it for a minute, Ryan.
Listen, you know what? There's a small breed of us Old Town pro staffers, but we all believe in the damn product.
Straight up.
So, what else we got, Jeff? Anything?
That's it, man. We got people chiming in. They're just making some funny jokes now, but all the good feels, Christine says. Jake, what an interview, man. Thank you. This was a fun, good interview, and you gave us a lot of good information.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do it again after. What's your next event? Maybe we'll have you on after that one too, man.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, all right? I got Logan Martin on March 5th, and then right after that, I'm going to be at Lake Norman. I'm making notes,
bro. I'm making notes off of you. I'm going to be eating unsalted salted crackers, texting my wife, and skunking on Friday before.
And playing cornhole with this guy.
Yes.
That's what you better know.
Make sure you have unsalted saltine crackers, 2 bottles of Coke, because that's all I had Sunday was unsalted saltine crackers and 2 bottles of Coke. I don't think I remembered to drink or eat that day because I was singularly focused on one thing. So
that's awesome.
You got it done. Congrats, man.
Congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But and if any of y'all want to fish an extremely good grassroots trail, come on up here April 18th and see what the Upper Chesapeake Bay is like. KBF is going to be pre-spawn on the Upper Bay.
It's
buddy.
A long ways from home, but I'd like to do it sometime for sure, brother.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you though, man. There's big uns on the Upper Bay. That's a fishery in the north that is overlooked because that tide can be tough. But you get down there on the right tide, and you're gonna catch 25, 30 pounds.
That's awesome.
I have honestly overlooked every fishery in the north. So
we don't need you to come up here. Listen, all of our young women and our alcohol distilleries, like they're safe without you being up here.
That's very true.
Terrible. Hey,
cheers to that.
Well, listen, we're going to get you out of here, Jake. I know you got to get up probably early for work. I know I do. I'm just old and need to go to bed. But anyway, hey, awesome interview. We appreciate you. Ryan, you got anything else for us before we wrap it up?
I don't think so, man. If I ever tell you I'm gonna be somewhere, Jeff, I'm gonna be somewhere. I'll tell you that.
You're the man.
I'll leave it at that.
You're the man. I'll see you at Logan Martin, Ryan. But hey, Thursday night we're gonna be back here live again with the guys from the All-American New Kayak Tournament. We're gonna have Tyler Cole and Josh Booth on with a guest host, David Cruz, gonna jump on here with me. So, but with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks again, Jake, and we're out of here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.